Good evening once again, everyone. And there are always some topics. Last week was persecution, and how in the midst of persecution, Swamiji said you have the supreme opportunity to say, this is just not happening to me. That opportunity is very high. Of course, what is happening to you is persecution. That was a spine stiffening topic. Well, today is a good balance in the scales of duality. It's food and prasad. So I would say take it easy. We'll have some discussions, and I think most of the discussion will happen after the satsang during prasad. So we can form, I'm joking now, but little teams, and everybody will say, I'm not sure about what he said. And I read in this book, because Master said you can easily, Mike, take it closer to me. Okay. Master said you can very easily make food your religion. And so I have some thoughts over here, and Amar and I, Dr. Amar, we've done many workshops, corporate workshops, meditation classes, and often, and we talk about stress management, and we just have to bring in the slide of food, because if you eat a certain kind of food, sattvic food, fresh food, organic, freshly plucked food, well, it has life force, more life force than something which has been in the fridge for a long time and things like that. So then we send any questions, and people say, for breakfast, what should I eat? And then lunch, and fish and chicken versus cheese and milk and curd and soy milk and this oil and salt and sugar, and it goes, and it's a whole science. I mean, people specialize and super specialize in the subject of food, and it is a valid thing. However, in the little time that we have to stay alive, and Master said it's a brief harvest, and what are you going to do? What are you going to focus on? And for those of us, especially who've taken the path of Kriya Yoga, devotion, and I was recently watching a video of Swamiji, and somebody asked him, Sir, what kind of yoga do you practice? And he said, ours is the yoga of yearning. I like that very much. He said, ours is the yoga of yearning. We yearn for God, and we are devotional practitioners of Raja Yoga. And I thought that's so sweet, because you have to get it right. Otherwise, you may say, there are so many things to focus on that you can easily get your priority wrong. So anyway, how this topic came to be was that last week a small group of us were discussing, you see, we've never regimented our prasad too much, that it should be, let's say, only fruits or sabji or rice or South Indian, North Indian, Italian, whatever. I'm seeing Promilaji over here many years ago. I was pleasantly surprised her. I think it was her son-in-law. He was on the way to the satsang coming from Thane, and he came with 8 boxes of Domino's pizzas. And we finished our satsang, and I thought, am I experiencing a divine fragrance, or is it really happening? And we opened our eyes, and there was this, leaning tower of pizzas over there. And he said, let's bless the food and have it. And it was wonderful. Master was once walking with a friend of his in Kolkata, and there was a garbage pile, really, which had gone bad. Like, imagine post-monsoon, the sun has not come out, things began to smell, and some cows were looking for food in the big garbage pile, and Master and his friend were noticing this, and suddenly the cow, as if found something, but then pulled back. So Master got very curious what it is, and he went and he saw it was rotten, moldy rice. And they were talking till that time that God is in everything. Master was telling this friend of his. And his friend said, now tell me, Mukunda, can you see God in that rotten rice? And Master said, absolutely. I could eat it right now as if it is the most delicious thing in the world. And Master's friend said, well, if you eat it, I will also eat it. Now, we know about Yoganandaji in retrospect. Till that time he had not written his autobiography. He had not exposed, you might say, himself to his friends and all. And so his friend said, if you eat it, Mukunda, I'll also eat it. Well, Master wouldn't waste such opportunities. He took a scoop of that rice. Very happily, joyfully, he ate it. And then he quickly took another scoop. And he says, and his friend said, you are mad? And he shot off. He started running. And he ran. And Master ran behind him. Now, if an avatar is running behind you, the sooner you give up, the better it is. But that level of wisdom does not come again easily, you know. So his friend is running. He said, no, you're mad. And Master said, you said you would eat it. And when you say something, you have to do it. Stop. And finally, Master caught up with him, grabbed him, opened his mouth, and pushed that rice in his mouth. He said, you said you would eat it. Now eat it. Well, I don't know if you really want a friend like that. I think we want. Master was very particular. Swamiji was once talking to us, and the question came about fulfilling your word. And Swami said, you have to fulfill your word, unless God tells you otherwise, because dharmas clash sometimes. And he said, it is better to die fulfilling your word, rather than reincarnate, not knowing why you have reincarnated. And he was saying that if you have set your will to something, why aren't you accomplishing it? And that is the power our spoken word can bring. So anyway, back to that theme. On one level, Master, of course, clearly could see God in everything. He could see that, this is all coming from divine. On the other hand, of course, he said you have to be practical based on what level where you are. And he outlined certain foods that could be had more, you might say, to the benefit of our body. But then Master one time, he went to a community, and he had a wonderful time. And some months later, he was inquiring, somebody was visiting, and Master said, so how is your community doing? And they said, oh, our community split and ended soon after your visit. And Master said, what happened? You all were so harmonious and everything was going fine. And this person said, oh, sir, one night after dinner, somebody had made a pudding, and another person had made another kind of pudding, tapioca pudding, and I think it was banana pudding, rice pudding. And Bhavani remembers puddings very well. And so Master said that, so this person said that people said, let's have tapioca pudding. And another group said, no, let's have rice pudding. Tapioca pudding, rice pudding, tapioca, rice. And they fought and left the community. And this person said, our group ended. And Master said, why didn't those who wanted tapioca pudding have tapioca, and those who wanted rice eat rice? And Master said, again, he said, don't make food your religion. About yoga practice, he said food is important. But he said it is secondary to yoga practice. And think about it. This afternoon, an example came to my mind. And often in India, we are fond of pani puri very much. Now, you call pani puri over here. In North, it's called golgappa. And Kolkata, it's puchka. So let's say 3 people meet, Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, and this Mumbai person says, oh my goodness, you have to come to Mumbai. I'll take you to this pani puri place. It's the best pani puri in the world. Okay, you eat it, and then the Kolkata person says, this was good, but you have to come to Kolkata. And when I take you to the puchkas over there, you will forget all about what you ate over here. You haven't tasted anything till you come to Kolkata. Okay, everybody goes to Kolkata, you eat, and this Delhi guy is like, well, guys, you've made a good start, but you have to come to Delhi to eat golgappas, and once you eat that, you know where this is going. People waste their time. What do you eat for breakfast? Swami says it is so deep in our consciousness that you see somebody who's glowing. And he said this would happen to Master. People would see, my goodness, he's so magnetic and he's got so much divine light in him. And they would later ask, what does he eat for breakfast? And Swami said, what you eat for breakfast is important, but not that important. That glow is not coming from breakfast or pani puri or anything. And Master said that. And so what happens is, often it is about where you grow up. What have you eaten? And here's the other thing. The thought that came to me this afternoon was, we are born in a culture, country, and we eat that kind of food. But how many times are we born in this life? Twice. Both the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, and I am sure many other scriptures teach the second birth, which is the more important, is the spiritual birth, which happens at discipleship. Now, once we are born in discipleship, what are we told to eat? What are you consuming? Because it's the spiritual birth, it's not at all, frankly, about the body. At discipleship, actually, we have to let go of our body, ego, as much as we can. I remember this beautiful line that was in Padre Pio's monastery when he joined the order. The entry gate says, "You are dead now. Beyond this door, you will be born in Christ." That's the attitude, that I have wonderful parents, family, the world. Now I take a spiritual birth for my soul. I am going to awaken to what is the soul, how do I merge it into God, what is required. And I thought what we are really told by Master to eat in the very first class, actually, not even in discipleship, is peace, calmness, joy, love, power, wisdom, inner light, and the sound of Om. Yoganandaji's teachings are very broad, and it opens and lends itself sometimes to seeming paradoxes. One time Master was telling the monks, he said, if you have any desire for anything material, you will have to reincarnate. And they're listening, and Master said, so somebody says, Master said, for example, you don't find cigarettes in the astral world. And he said, so if you're dependent on cigarettes, when you go to heaven, that craving sooner or later will come out, and you don't find cigarettes there, so you'll have to reborn in a country where cigarettes are easily available. So Swami says, sir, what about if we like ice cream, a cone of ice cream, that desire is inside, it's like, let's go to Naturals and have a double scoop of something. And Master said, you don't find ice cream in heaven either. He said, if you have a desire, you will have to be reincarnate. Oh, that was staggering. You can imagine. So next day, Swami goes up to Yoganandaji and he said, sir, please pray for me. And Master said, what happened? He says, sir, I'm attached to good food. I've always had wonderful food at home and I enjoy good food. But after what I heard yesterday, I'm terrified. And Master said, oh, Walter, don't worry about those little things. When ecstasy comes, everything goes. Now, was he contradicting himself? Was he lying? Not at all. On one level, if you have any physical desire, he is very clear. You have to come to the physical world. However, how do you overcome that physical desire? When ecstasy comes, everything goes. He didn't say stop eating ice cream. Actually, he used to give the monks money for ice cream. People would donate him some money, and Master would see the monks and nuns hanging around sometimes, and he would go up to the nuns and he said, here's some money, go and have some milkshakes. And then he would go to the monks. He said, why don't you go and have some ice cream? And they were like, no, sir, we are fine. He said, are you sure? Some ice cream is okay. And they're like, no. I mean, on one level, he's telling you ice cream will lead to reincarnation. Then he's giving you money to eat ice cream and testing you. And the Master said, please keep. He said, I can't keep money. Just go and have some ice creams. So they would go and enjoy some ice cream. But so what's going on over here? Well, he's not saying don't eat this, don't stop. Many people define the spiritual path that way. I have met some people who sound like garlic without eating it. They say, मैं क्या लहसुन नहीं खाता हूँ, मैं प्याज नहीं खाता हूँ, मैं मिर्ची नहीं खाता हूँ. I'm like, क्यों नहीं खाते हो? खा लो, eat some, no? You have become like this vegetable you've been meditating on and avoiding so desperately. Like Sri Yukteswarji, there was a monk, he was meditating and fasting, and Sri Yukteswarji said, why don't we throw a dog to the bone? Sorry, why don't we throw the dog a bone? And what he was saying, now fasting is good. Master has written chapters. Partial fasting, complete fasting, water fasting, orange juice fasting, 9-day fasting. He has gone in the details. Physical benefits, emotional, spiritual benefits. But what did he tell Swami Kriyanandaji? He said, Walter, you see, true teaching is individual, and our path is more of offering it because we have been offered so many things. Ours is not of just this is it and forget everything else. So what did he tell Swamiji? He said, Walter, you should eat 3 square meals every day. And Swami said he never told him to fast. And as the years went by, Swami said that he reflected, why didn't Master tell me to fast like he told some others? And he said, because Swami had a deep feeling that he had died in one of his past lives with almost starvation to death in the name of fasting. When you have a problem like that, you are told to eat. And when you have a problem, let's say, of overeating, like Giribala, what did Giribala's mother-in-law? I mean, she was a knife. You remember the story of Giribala from Autobiography of a Yogi? Giribala was fond of eating. Her parents allowed her to eat, and she ate and ate a lot. And her mom at some point started telling her that, daughter, you'll get married in a few years and learn some control. You're going to, this is not normal how much you're eating. Well, she couldn't control, and so she got married, and she ate and ate and ate all the time. And her mother-in-law was not happy about it, and she told her that, can you change? And she said, she would repeatedly say that, yes, I will not eat, and this fight would go on. And one day she said, Mother, I will not eat from tomorrow. I'm stopping to eat. And she said, how can you stop eating when you can't stop overeating? Typical mother-in-law and daughter-in-law kind of a challenge. And so naturally Giribala, as you know, wept. She prayed to God. I won't go into the story, it's an autobiography, but this sage came to her when she was at the ghats of a river to wash clothes. And he said, God has sent me. He taught her a technique and a pranayam, and she never ate food after that. And it's fascinating that we have this entire spectrum. Now, what's the ideal, you might say, approach to food? I'll share just a few thoughts, and then I have some in the book. I'll read those. But you see, food, first of all, Master said, it's better. Somebody asked him, what kind of food do you eat? Are you a vegetarian? Are you a non-vegetarian? We ask those questions. Fortunately, less so, even less nowadays. But Master said, I am a properitarian. And he said, I eat what is proper for my body. And we have to understand, and this is a concept in Ayurveda also, that each person's body is different, their constitution is different, of course their nature of work is different. Somebody needs, savory food, somebody needs sweet food. And so our job is more to just present the spectrum and have enough discrimination where you say, maybe this is, maybe I should stop, instead of somebody telling you, don't eat this or eat that much. I know somebody once went to an ashram, and the talk in that morning was on non-attachment. And so this discourse is going on, and then comes the time for lunch, and they said, we'll have lunch in silence now. I said, okay. So go to the dining table, take your plate, it was covered with another plate, and go and find a tree and sit under the tree and eat your food in silence, and we'll eat for 1 hour, then we will come back. So this friend of mine told me, he said, I went there, I took my plate, I sat under a tree, I offered my prayer. And he says, then I opened the plate, the lid. And he said, in the center of the plate was 1 grain of rice. So he looked, he thought for a moment that by mistake he picked the food from the finished food side. So, but you were in silence, what do you do? So he looked around and everybody was looking at each other. Now, once in a while, a test like that is okay. But you're thinking, it's like monkey consciousness. Like Master said, eat what you have to eat, what is proper for your body, and forget about it. Or like Jayaji says, is it easier to change your diet or yourself and your habits? Well, we know the answer. And he said, work on yourself, not so much the diet. The diet is a good starting point. But there comes a time where our will and our energy, you might say, uh, takes the importance over here. Now, I want to read a little bit about what some of you might remember, but some may not, what Babaji offered Lahari Mahashaya after Kriya initiation. I think foodies like me will remember what he offered. So I'll read just a little extract. This is Lahari Mahashaya narrating. Re-entering the palace, fabulously glistening in the cold Himalayan sunlight, I sought the presence of my master. He was still enthroned, surrounded by many quiet disciples. Lahiri, you are hungry, Babaji added. Close your eyes. When I reopened them, the enchanting palace and its picturesque gardens had disappeared. My own body and the forms of Babaji and the cluster of chelas were all now seated on the bare ground at the exact site of the vanished palace, not far from the sunlit entrances of the rocky grottos. I recalled that my guide had remarked that the palace would be dematerialized, its captive atoms released into the thought essences from which it had sprung. Although stunned, I looked trustingly at my Guru. I knew not what to expect next on this day of miracles. The purpose for which the palace was created has now been served, Babaji explained. He lifted an earthen vessel from the ground. Put your hand there and receive whatever food you desire. As soon as I touched the broad, empty bowl, it became heaped with hot, butter-fried luchis, which is puris in Bengal, curry, and rare sweetmeats. I helped myself, observing that the vessel was ever filled. At the end of my meal, I looked around for water. My Guru pointed to the bowl before me. Lo, the food had vanished. In its place was water, clear as from a mountain stream. Few mortals know, this is Babaji now saying, few mortals know that the kingdom of God includes the kingdom of mundane fulfillments, Babaji observed. The divine realm extends to the earthly, but the latter, being illusory, cannot include the essence of reality. So it is true, friends, that like we pray, we bless the food, which is how food becomes prasad. You see it in that consciousness. And this is one thing we could remind ourselves more. The other thing I was telling our dear friend, last week was that, let's say a satsang like this, or our brief meditation, hardly 10 minutes or so, or energization sometimes. I said, this is just a reminder of what you have to create every morning and evening back home. I said, don't rely on this only. I said, this is a reminder which has to then be played out in your own unique way. You have to make a study of these things. And so it is with food. Food has fascinated me. I was literally one day away from joining a hotel management institute because I have from childhood this deep desire to feed other people and such. And so anyway, I've attracted myself to many chefs, master chefs, books. I read about these things. And over the years, as I've reflected sometimes about food, I have found it to be extremely sacred. For example, Master said that he outlined 20 fruits. And he said that they have so many more spiritual qualities. For example, bananas can bring humility. Grapes bring devotion. Now again, Master would say that. And one monk heard that and he started grape juice fasting. And Swami Kiranandaji was very new on the path. So this monk said, I'm doing grape juice fasting. Would you like to join me? And he said, why are you doing that? He said, Master taught that if you drink and eat grapes, we can develop devotion. They have the spiritual quality of devotion. And Swami said, Master had told him, you must develop devotion. You are very intellectual. So Swami said, I'll also join you in this fast. So they both started eating grapes, morning, afternoon, evening, only grapes. And Swamiji met Master a few days later, and Swami thought he should update his guru what he's doing. He said, Sir, so and I are doing a grape juice fast. And Master said, now why are you doing that? He said, to develop devotion. He said, Sir, you told me to develop devotion, so I'm eating grapes. And Master said, well, now that you have started it, finish it, because you've set your will to it. But remember, Walter, God comes through a pure heart, not a pure stomach. And you can almost be scratching your head that, because Master didn't like this, the human nature vacillates. This is good, this is not good. That is a Kali Yuga tendency. In Satya Yuga, it's not like that. Swami says, what can be bad? He says, it has all come from God. It is all good. Your consciousness has to change, like Master with that rotten rice. Now I agree, it is a high, tall order. But just because we cannot see that high end of the spectrum, we make rules. And the trouble with rules is, they are okay maybe when you start, but very soon they stop you from higher realizations because you're afraid to go beyond the rule. We forget why the rule was put in the first place. So anyway, I'll just see some more of my points, and then I'm happy to even take a few questions. Only 5 minutes extra, that's excellent track record for me. That is slow also besides, okay. And you will still get Prasad, so I won't only fill your ears. So I want to say a few things over here. Well, it looks like I have covered a lot. Now, it is true, I read this fact first in 2006 that the urban adults, worldwide data, every year, 10 years census comes, United Nations reported that for the first time in recorded history, we have more people in cities who are overweight than those who are under, weight, less in weight. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. It was 51 or 52%. Well, in 2016, 10 years later, that number was 62%. And I think post-pandemic, the next census is going to bring a greater revelation. And of course, with obesity, with, let us say, lack of activity, all sorts of illnesses, hypertension, cancers, and all these challenges come. So we have to take care of that. But remember, it's not just the food, it is your exercise and many other things. When you come on the spiritual path especially, almost everything is taken from you. There was somebody who came to deliver ice creams in Ananda village, our primary community, founding community. And Ananda village is spread over 800 acres, and in the beginning is Master's Market, this place where food and groceries are available. So this man would come, and from there you cannot see the temple, you cannot hardly see any houses. And he's coming month after month, sometimes twice a month, to deliver huge amounts of food, but especially ice cream. And he's asking the shopkeeper, one of our devotees, he said, where is all this ice cream going? He said, I don't see anybody around, but you guys are one of the biggest consumers of ice cream over here. And he said, we have a community, about 250, 300 of us stay here. So Jayaji was telling us this story, and Jayaji says, well, you have to eat something. And he says, when it's like, okay, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, which was not Master's approach. The question is, well, what can I do? And Master said, you can eat good food, provided you interiorize. He said the best approach is you interiorize the feeling and you eat it with Divine Mother. That was Swami's way. Swami in this life, he saw poverty, shall I say, or extreme simplicity where he was making his own food. when he was living on bare minimum amount. This was after he was thrown out of SRF. And Swami said that, you see, he was a king in a past life. He was Henry the First, Alfonso the Tenth, and such. And so Swami said that he would make his food, some chapatis, little curry, sabji and all. And then he said he didn't have enough money to, let's say, get desserts every day. So he would make little mishti doi, or he would put some, sweetened curd or something, and he would tell himself that he's having, a dessert over there. And it's a very sweet, balanced approach. Master, Swami, both of them were excellent cooks, and they gave so many recipes. And here's the thing, when you work with food, it's a very conscious reality. It's almost, I don't know, like a person, like a friend. It takes on the quality and energy that you put into it. Well, it is a part of God's creation. And if you approach it with love, with the nourishment that it was created to offer, then the dharma of the vegetable is fulfilled. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but this is what the master said. And frankly, I felt that just today we were going for a kirtan, and one of our friends, he picked up the drum, by the string. And I said, don't do that. I said, lift it respectfully. This drum it awakens the first chakra, master said. I said, it's a conscious thing. Master said, thoughts are things. And when Sri Aurobindo, used to have food, his close disciple mother used to cook for him. She used to go to the garden, and she had this gift to talk to fruits, vegetables. I have met people who can do that. And this lady who stays in Pashan, she told me, I can talk to a flower and make it dance. I said, good for you. But these things do happen, because there are devas, there are angels over there. It's a conscious thing. Plants are conscious. And so anyway, mother would go, and she said the plants knew that this is Sri Aurobindo's vegetable garden. And she'd be looking around, and the veggies would say, take me, take me. And sometimes she would reach out for a fruit or vegetable, and it'd say, I'm not ready today, come 2 days later. That level of conscious energy. Yoganandaji was once dictating notes to a devotee, and he was walking back and forth in the room, and this person was taking notes. And a monk came to tell master something. And master said, okay, let me think about it. But he kept walking. And this monk noted that in a flower vase master had, there was a rose, a singular rose flower that was kept. And when master was walking, this rose was moving with master. Wherever master went, the flower moved in that direction. And this monk was noticing this. And master said, we have a friend in this room, don't we? And this monk said, you have a friend, sir. And when you feel that oneness, then everything becomes very sacred. Vegetarian, non-vegetarian. It's better to be a vegetarian. But if, let's say, you're craving for non-veg food, but you're not eating it, who are you doing violence to? You're saving violence on one side, but you're being violent to yourself. Somebody asked Swami Kriyanandaji, it was a question-answer round, and this person says, I was there, it was a live session, and this person says, sir, he said, I eat fish. And Swami says, that's not a question. What's your question? He said, sir, I eat fish. Can I be spiritual? And Swami says, remember this, fish or no fish, if you have love for God, you will find him in this lifetime. Now, it's better to be a vegetarian. But again, if your upbringing, your samskars, your past life craving, these things go deep. Saint Francis of Assisi, who is the best known saint in Christianity, Master loved him the most in all of Christianity. He once came after a day of begging and getting food, and he came to the monastery, and he said, let's pray first, and then we'll cook some food and eat. And as they were praying, he thought he's hearing somebody cry. But he opened his eyes, and everybody else is praying, so he thought maybe it's a wrong sound. And then he hears, help me, open the door. Somebody open the door. And he says, can you hear somebody cry in our monastery? And one of them says, yes, brother, it's a new monk who joined. And he said, why is he crying? They said, he must be hungry. He was asking for food, but we asked him to stay in the room and pray till you came. And St. Francis was outraged. They had locked him in a room, asking him to pray. And he got up and he just went and he opened the door and he said, come, let's cook some food. And he personally made food for that person. He said, you can't create. He said, I can fast. Master said that he was so ill. He was almost blind. He died at a young age. But Master said at his touch, dead people were coming back to life. So he said, you have to understand there's a spectrum. You can't apply one rule for everybody. I've also often thought of cooking like dressing up little children or dressing up ourselves. What kind of clothes do we like to wear? Diverse. Your t-shirt says diverse. Clean, bright, nice, uplifting, sattvic. Well, that's how you should make the dish. It is only one lifetime. That potato is not going to come back as a potato maybe. Are you helping? Now you may say, this guy is gone. But no, why not? Master said, if you have to do something, you might as well do it lovingly. So, here I go cooking again. These guys, they can just stop eating and all. No, it's so much better if you see it with that love. That way, frankly, you eat very less also sometimes. And you've put your heart. Swami Kriyanandaji, when he ate outside, there's a beautiful monk over here. Sorry, I'm not a monk, a master chef whose son is a monk and such. And he told me, he said, no matter where I was in the hotel, Swami would ask for me. And people would say, Roberto, Swami Kriyananda is asking for you. And Roberto would come and Swamiji would ask him to make a certain kind of food. And he told me, he said, Aditya, from the time I was in 4th grade, I knew I'm going to be a master chef. I knew I wanted to be a chef. He was not a chef, he was a master chef. For 25 years, he traveled all over the world teaching chefs of the Sheraton group how to cook better. And he said that it was from the heart. His first rule was, if you're angry, don't go to the kitchen. He said, it's not about the spices, it's not about the recipe. What are you putting inside the food? And Swami's cook told me that one time. She said, when I was asked to cook for Swami, I was nervous. And she said, I started cooking and he stopped eating. And then Swami would eat little and leave. And then one day it struck her, and he didn't say much. And one day it struck her, what am I feeding him? And the answer came to her, nervousness. And she said, why am I doing this? And she very happily, lovingly made something. And that day Swami had one bite. And he says, that's very good. So that level of sensitivity that you put, for you and me, it's often sugar and salt. Again, like I said, it's a good starting point, but try to go behind that into the consciousness. Swamiji was once traveling and he came back late at night, and because it was late night, he didn't tell people, he didn't want to disturb anybody. So he went and he opened his fridge and there was a little pudding over there. Different things, but there was a little pudding. And he had a bite of it. And just at that time, his team came and people said, oh, sir, you arrived and shall we make you something? He said, no, I was just grabbing some food. He said, tell me, but who made this pudding? And they said, a lady saint from India was visiting Nevada City nearby. And she wanted to meet you, but you were not there. So she left you some pudding. And Swami said, I could instantly feel that some saint has cooked this. That is what we need to put into the food. And that is what the food is a vehicle for. And again, like I said, then it's rotten rice, or it is pastry, it could be a Domino's pizza. Now it's better if in the beginning it is something sattvic, because we step by step, we don't want to be presumptive that where is rotten rice? No. We want to take one step at a time. But I have to say, I've conducted some experiments on food, and after days, weeks, and I say, let's try. How will I know till I try? It turns out quite successful if you are not presumptive and you say, we can do something about it. I'll tell you one or two funny stories. One was, you see, after I've started traveling, I've begun to kind of miss the Sangha a little bit. This afternoon also some of you came, and it was a 1 hour meeting. It turned into a 3 hour meeting. 1 hour here and 2 hours in my house. And I was just saying that you got to come and see each other. We can't just keep calling each other Guru Bhais and never care or meet one another. I said, you have to meet, you have to come and see each other. And so I was serving as a volunteer in Bihar during the floods of 2008. And it was flooded. We were going from village to village by boat, sometimes bypassing broken bridges, marsh, mosquitoes, snakes everywhere. It was disrupted, as floods do. They disrupt the entire landscape. And I was there, and we were serving out of a missionary hospital. So every morning, different jeeps and teams that would go out, medical teams, we were given huge tiffins, that this is your lunch and dinner and such. So we reached a particular place, but we were so delayed by that time that it was 5 p.m. when lunch finally happened. People gathered, they were spread out, and work was happening. And so we sat at 5 o'clock, and it was hot and humid. And I was the team leader. So we sat around in a circle and said, let's open the food. So they opened the tiffin. And you know that interesting smell that comes from a tiffin which has begun to go from sattvic to tamasic, so everybody smelled that, and they said, oh no, this food has gone bad. And they were not feeling bad for the food, they were feeling bad for their growling stomachs. And I quickly sensed the situation, and I said, I don't want a grumpy team over here. So I said, wait, let me taste it. So they brought me the food, and I tasted it. I said, it's good. It has just begun to go bad, but it has not gone bad. We can eat it. They said, we can eat it? I said, yes. Everybody ate it, and we finished all of that food. And nobody fell ill after that. Now, I'm again not saying we should break hygiene rules, but remember that. Let me see if there's anything else I'd like to share over here. Oh my goodness, this is a beautiful one. Christ said this statement once, and he said, it is not what goes inside a man's mouth that makes him holy. It is what comes out of it. How are you speaking to others? How sweet is you could be eating all the rasgullas in the world, but still have a bitter tongue. And that is a very important thing for our own spiritual growth. And make no mistakes, millions of people make this mistake that, I must be spiritual because blah, 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 blah. I don't eat this, I don't do that. So I'm used to say, how is your tone of voice? And when I thought of this line, I said, this is worth keeping in mind. Any thoughts, any questions? So here are one or two things Swamiji said. He said, Master said, once in a while, to overcome attachment to food, you can take a bowl and put all foods inside it. Savory, sweet, and everything. He said, mix it up and then eat it happily. Once in a while, he said, it's good to do that. Secondly, he said, when you see food, what is your impulse? It's like, he said, learn to be calm, non-attached, interiorize it. He said, it's good once in a while to give to others that which you were planning to eat for yourself. It's good to, if you have greed for food, he said, it's good to keep some food in front of you and watch it. Give some time between, it's your food, but you will eat it after 5 minutes. You're going to have a little interaction with the food. You will eat it with self-control. Come. Who is hiding over there? Child, let them come.
Come, baby.
Come. We have a summer fest going on, so
Come.
some little kids are hanging around. Actually, this is their house. They're staying over here at night. Yeah, we are intruding in their house. Then Master said that, let's say, when you're eating something, he said you can keep it on your tongue and just keep it there for a moment. Think about it and see where is the energy in your spine. So let's say eating, and like Swami said, oh, some saint has made this. Well, he must have felt the consciousness. We too know the techniques of how to raise our energy, how to feel that consciousness. And it's important to keep that in mind, that give some time. Why am I not experiencing? What is the energy behind this food? Okay, I think I've done a little bit, and Prasad has just come. Looks like. So, any thoughts, any questions? Tushar, do we have anything out there? So we are fine. There is a special prasad with one plate covered with another today. We are ready? Okay, you say, no, no, we saw all the food go inside. Okay, so let's just take a moment. Let's take a moment to thank the masters. You can zoom me out now. For the blessings of their teachings in our life, the guidance, the priority they have suggested to us, and all the methods of self-control, transmutation of energy they have taught us, especially regarding controlling greed over food,